Welcome back to the Reier on YouTube channel, where it is time once again for No Sleep Teal, a show dedicated to discussion involving the National Football League's Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm Travis Reier. He is Evan Reier. And Evan, are you rested? Are you rejuvenated? Is the optimism returning where this Jaguars team is concerned? Because the last two games have sort of depleted that enthusiasm, it seemed like.
I think a little bit. I think having, the bye week couldn't have come at a better time, really. Maybe a week or two earlier, but sometimes you don't want that early bye week. At the end of the day, I think you still got to be happy where they got it. That being said, it hasn't exactly been a week of news that makes you feel great, when you've got trade rumors, when you've got all that different stuff going on. But you get the week of rest. You know how banged up this team was, especially going into London. So to try and get some guys back to a bill of full health is always a good thing.
Yeah, defensively with Devin Lloyd out for that Rams game across the pond, and hearing from Liam Cohen here in the last 24 hours or so, doesn't sound as if that's a certainty that Devin
Yeah.
Lloyd will for sure be back this week. Ventrell Miller, I thought, did some pretty good things in Devin Lloyd's stead. I don't think there's any doubt about it, though. Based on this defensive scheme and the approach of this defensive staff, you do lose something when you
Yeah.
don't have Devin Lloyd on the field. Pass rush, you lose. 4 interceptions on the season, you lose. So it would be great to get him back. Trayvon Walker still working back from that hand wrist injury. So we'll see how those situations play out in the next few days. But also the narratives, man, after the last two games. As you said, the Brian Thomas Jr. chatter. The Jags have been very proactive to shoot that down. The way that was sort of put out there as the Jags are taking calls. Well, the Jags are going to take calls on Trevor Lawrence. I mean,
Yeah.
the Jags are going to answer the phone. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're going to be receptive to any deal. I've said in the past, though, especially after the Bengals game, with this new regime, I wouldn't also totally discount anything either. And then also, it has also felt like where Trevor Lawrence is concerned, it's been a little bit of open season after his performance against the Rams. I guess in the immediate aftermath of that game, I wasn't that taken aback by his level of play. I sort of become accustomed to that's the Trevor we're going to get. But boy, I'll tell you here locally, and even within the building in terms of the content that is produced there, I've heard folks get after him in the last 8 or 9 days in a way that I hadn't heard previously.
Yeah, I'm wondering what exactly set that off. Because there's also been a lot of pushback to that online. There's a ton of people bringing up that, Trevor's throwing, a high percentage of catchable balls, and I think he like leads the league in terms of drops over the past like
Mm-hmm.
3 years and all that different stuff. So it's a difficult kind of thing to parse because we know that Trevor's not elite, at least not where he is right now. And really, at this stage, do you think he's ever going to be elite? No, I don't. I don't think so. But at the same time, yeah, there's definitely some areas in which he could receive some help to make that better. We talk about the receivers and the drops, but offensive line over the past 2 weeks. I mean, back-to-back weeks with 7 sacks. So the narrative and the conflicting ones, I guess, at that are very interesting at the moment. I mean, I get it. Like Trevor is frustrating, when you think about all the talent that he has and what he can do, and when he misses guys, it really stinks. But yeah, I also have been kind of taken aback by that and just trying to figure out what was really different about the Rams game compared to other
Yeah.
games we've seen.
Yeah. You can't run the football and you get penalized 13 times.
Yeah.
Guess what's going to happen in terms of Trevor and that pass offense? If you drop him back, as we've said time and time again here, 40 plus times, that's what you're going to get
Yeah.
from Trevor Lawrence in this offense. I mean, that's just where it sits. And, as a part of the Brian Thomas Jr. stuff, there's been a lot of talk about time to go ahead and push Travis Hunter into that number one role in terms of who you feature at the
Yeah.
wide receiver position. And a lot of that's coming from the same folks, it seems like, who are saying, oh, there's nothing to the Brian Thomas Jr. stuff in terms of moving him. Well, which is it?
Yeah.
You know, you're dead set on not moving or the potential of moving Brian Thomas Jr., but you're pushing just as hard for Travis Hunter to be the new number one. It seems contradictory on a level or so.
Well, I mean, there's, in some ways, it kind of feels like a duh situation with the whole Travis Hunter to number one receiver because, I mean, you traded up and took this guy as the second overall pick.
He
Yeah,
needs to be number one something, right? Number
I
one corner or number
ideally,
one wide
I
receiver.
ideally it may not be right now, but at some point he's kind of supposed to be, your number one receiver. Like you said, if it's not there, it better be number one corner, and it doesn't seem like it's happening at corner anytime soon. At least, I mean, it shouldn't have to, anyways. But yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think, yeah, they are probably feeling like at this point that Travis Hunter is ready for maybe a bit more attention in terms of getting him the ball, trying to get him more touches and stuff. But I don't think that necessarily has to come at at the cost of trading Brian Thomas Jr., especially when, when I think about all these trade rumors and stuff like that right now, if I'm Gladstone, what is the point of trading him right now? Like, what are you going to go do instead? Like, who are you
What are
getting
you
to
going to
replace
get
him?
for him too?
Yeah,
Right? I
because the
mean,
stock, like if you had, I don't know, for some reason, someone calls the beginning of the season, team probably would have offered first round pick, probably a bit extra to that. Right now, if I'm an NFL team, I'm probably not offering a first for Brian Thomas Jr.
no.
So and we know that he can hit a level where he's worth that kind of trade if that's what it comes down to. It's not right now. So it's not a good time to sell. If anything, you just got to keep investing in this asset. If we're going to look at it like business, right? If we're going to look at it as, a deal and running a business, like there's no reason why at this moment you would cut him loose.
Yeah, maybe the
Um,
Niners, the only team that would really covet Brian Thomas Jr. to that extent because Mac Jones is the
right.
quarterback out there, and that's when we've seen Brian Thomas Jr. really at his best in the
Yeah.
season and a half with Mac Jones a year ago while Trevor was out. But also penalties still, if you ask me,
Yeah.
penalties,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable for this offense for a couple reasons because when this team was 4-1, there was so much talk about the run game and the physicality and all those things that we heard about with Liam Cohen and this new approach. It's gone away now. And some of
Yeah.
that has to do with putting yourself off schedule via penalties or getting behind in games like they have the last couple of times out. But that to me is the two-part answer to this for the Jaguars.
Right.
Really, as a football team, not just offensively, you got to clean up these penalties and you got to get back to being able to run the football when you want to run it, which is going
Yeah.
to be from the outset of games. I don't think Liam Cohen, Udinski, or any of those folks on the offensive side deserve a pass from the Rams game. That was awful.
Yeah.
And I know it got bad fast in terms of the scoreboard. But some of that stuff we saw early in the game, and I know Trevor's caught some heat for this, that looked like Peterson and Press Taylor game
Yeah.
plans where you come out, you kind of spread the field and just try to dink and dunk it a little bit. You don't really have a plan or an identity. That looked identityless against the
Yeah.
Rams.
No, the Jags, I think more important than Trevor Lawrence or Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter is how do you get Travis Etienne going again?
Mm-hmm.
Because right now it's not happening. Past 2 weeks, it really hasn't happened at all. And part of it too is even if you get him going, like you said, if you're getting penalized, close to 10 times a game on the offensive line, it doesn't really matter all that much. So getting them back into, I guess, the swing of at least, in the early part of the season when they were still committing a lot of penalties, ETN was getting some big plays. They were creating holes. Right now, it's just not happening. I wonder if, it's partially, I think, of course, there's just issues with the players themselves, but like we've talked about with Cohen's play calling and different stuff, the identitylessness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, new
Uh,
word.
yeah, it's hey, we're innovators
We're
here,
good
but
like that. Yeah.
um I just feel like that even if the Jags go down like 2 scores in games like that, like early, you can't get away from running the ball. You
You
have
got
to
to stay
just
with
press
it.
on with it. And sure, if it hits the point where you're down 3 scores or something, you got to do what you got to do, just be in the game. But um, I would still just be pounding it. Like even if you're not having much success, I'd rather see the game plan be stuck to than kind of bailing out to whatever we've seen the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, hasn't been good at all. Our guy Bama Bob chiming in here in the show chat. Thanks, Bob. He says, "Don't worry, guys. My Raiders suck more than ever," and that
Well,
is sort of the oasis out in
yeah,
the desert, so to speak, coming up for the Jacksonville Jaguars on the heels of that bye week. It's not a good Raiders team that
nope.
awaits this Jaguars team. But from an injury perspective, things might be brightening for Vegas. Sounds like Brock Bowers, the former Georgia All American tight end, with that knee injury that has kept him out of the last 3 games, could be good to go this week. Jacoby Myers, the wide receiver, knee and toe issues kept him out of the Raiders last game, could be back for the Jags this week. Raiders, though, boy, you can kind of pick a category. It's not very good. I mean, I know we'll start, kind of the matchups, I guess, for the Jaguars offense and going against this Raiders defense. It's a Raiders pass defense. It's allowed 11 touchdowns through the air, just 3 interceptions. The defense on third down is giving up conversions at a 50% clip.
Dang,
And
that's crazy.
so get well opportunity for this Jaguars team, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. Raiders defensively against the run, giving up about 4 yards per carry. That's not bad,
Yeah.
but they have forced 5 fumbles against opposing rush offenses. So, Ev, what's your sort of sense for the Jags offensively to maybe not totally get to where it needs to be, but at least show signs of moving back to that position?
Well, really, I think the critical part of this game is blocking Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And he's also a little banged up at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance he doesn't go, but more than like you got to assume that guy's going to be playing. Um, that's the one guy on that defense that can wreck this game. You know what I mean? Like if you let him have a monster performance, then yeah, you're probably going to be in trouble. And Trevor's probably thrown 40 times, and we know how that goes. I say run it right at him. That when I talk about sticking to that game plan, this is when you need to instead of trying to avoid him, just start sending ETN, start sending Tootin down on his side. Just see if you can at least get it going, and then work away
Mm-hmm.
from him in the past. Right. Um, I think that's a big deal. I would also say that that linebacker group, there's some serious talent still in there. They're not exactly at their
Right.
peaks anymore, but Jamal Adams, Landon Roberts, and Devin White, these are all dudes that at one point in
Been
time
around.
were all pro contenders or just straight all pros in the NFL. Um, that linebacker group's not going to make it easy to run the ball, but again, I think it's going to be something you just have to completely stick to, because if you put the ball or the game in Trevor's hands, especially early, yeah, you're going to allow this Raiders team to stick around, and potentially for Ashton Genty. You don't want Ashton Genty getting a lot of touches late in the game. You want
Yeah.
to be up a few scores, 2 scores, not really letting him do what he can potentially do.
Yeah. Put it more on Geno Smith and that passing game for the Raiders. Now, the Jaguars, speaking of the offensive side of the ball, how the Raiders go about getting the matchups they want in obvious passing situations is going to be key. Of course, with Walker Little on the one side, the sense is that Anton Harrison's been penalties aside, been pretty good
Yeah.
uh, on the right side. And how do you coming out of the bye week? How do you look on that offensive line for the Jaguars? Is there some movement there? Do we see Wyatt Milam perhaps? Do we see him at guard? Do we see him at tackle? I think there's some intrigue there as it relates to Macari and even Cleveland in terms of how they go about this with those guards and maybe even the one tackle spot.
I think this is probably the first time, in however long, like 3 or 4 weeks, that this offensive line has like the starting group, anyways, that we've seen through the majority of the year, that we've seen them with no injury designations. I think you got to let it rock. Let the original five rock, which is Walker Little, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Makari, and Anton Harrison. I don't. I like Wyatt Milam. There's definitely been reasons for optimism. I don't really want to put a whole lot on his shoulders right at this point in time. If there was anybody coming in, it'd be Adoga. I'd like to maybe see Adoga get another chance. But really, right now, I think you've got to get this group out there as much as possible, because even though there's plenty of veterans in this group, there's really, there's plenty of NFL experience across that line right now. You're still getting penalized. You're still having struggles, even just getting snaps off at the right time, all that different stuff. I would rather have more reps for the group itself than, being like, okay, well, maybe we switch things around. It's like, you're just coming off the bye week. Let's just get back to what we were trying to do at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, other side of the football, a lot of talk here in Duval this week about getting this defensive line going, especially where the interior is concerned. Again, you look at this matchup and there's reason for optimism, because even with Ashton Genty now in that backfield and the Raiders spending the pick that they did to bring him in there, just 3 rushing touchdowns for the Raiders so far this season, just 33 rushing first downs. And then a Raiders passing offense, even with the change and the commitment there at the starter position. 7 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions for the Raiders. For the sake of comparison, the Rams, after seeing the Jags defense, are 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Oof. But again, with this Raiders offense, should be an opportunity for the Jags to get back to maybe their opportunistic ways.
Yeah. Well, especially, Geno Smith loves to throw an interception, even when he's been, kind of having his resurgence over the past few years, still pretty likely to throw a pick. The Jags defense definitely needs one, because they've kind of entered a drought, at this point. Also, both there's quite a few players on the Raiders who have put the ball on the ground this season, so you might be thinking about more punch outs too. This could be, last time I said it, he ended up making a big play against the 49ers, but it might be a Gardeck game. This might be a chance for him to really make an impact. I could see that working out here, and they need it, because if for some reason you're not going to have Devin Lloyd, you're going to need one of those linebackers to really step up. I like Ventrell Miller a lot, but I think this is the kind of situation when the Jags signed Gardeck, this is what they were looking for.
Yeah, with Miller and Aluakun out there, you end up with 2 of the same kind of guys at those 2 spots, whereas you got a different dynamic when you've got Devin Lloyd out there with Aluakun or even Ventrell. I like the either or of Ventrell and Foye more than I like the with both of them out there together. So that would be a good thing, no doubt, for the Jaguars defense. What about the special teams? That's been a point of contention. Cam Little, we talk about droughts, we talk about slumps. The second-year kicker from Arkansas is enduring that right now. Obviously, you hope he benefits from the bye week, gets away, kind of get some things figured out. It's pretty similar. You think about the Raiders. I think the thing you got to be careful of as a Jaguars fan is thinking, well, it's just, look, the Raiders are bad. The Raiders, when I look at them right now, they look a lot like the Jaguars to me. Now, the record isn't the same, but in terms of matching up across the board, and you crunch numbers and things like that, even in field goals, is pretty similar. I think the Raiders are 11 of 14, and Cam now is 10 of 14 with the recent issues he's had. We talked about Cam Little even before the bye week, and your leash, anyway, sounds like it's getting a little tighter for him as far as this week and beyond is concerned.
Yeah, it's just getting, when you're in the playoff race and you're giving up points, you're leaving points out there. And in some cases this season, obviously not the Rams game, but in the Seahawks game, those points that Cam Little left out on the field were pretty dang important to that being, potentially a game where the Jags could have tied it up late or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have a lot more patience. I think if you're about winning football games, you just can't afford to wait around and see if a guy can get it together. And yeah, I mean, this is a situation where you're going to play in a dome.
Mm-hmm.
You've
You're
had a bye
inside.
week to kind of rest. It's like if Cam Little's going to kind of rebound, this is the spot. So let's see it. If it doesn't happen here, then I think it's only right to at least have some guys come work out and
Yeah.
just to see and have a kicking competition at the very least.
Practice squad
Yeah.
situation. You saw the Packers with McManus coming back from an injury against the Steelers the other night, missed a couple of kicks in the first half, but they've got their other guy stashed on that practice squad
Yeah.
in case they need to go there moving forward. So, what's the confidence level, Ev, in this matchup in terms of the Jaguars getting off the snide and getting another W?
I'd probably say like a 6. I'm cautiously optimistic. I like, for the most part, we've seen already this season what Cohen can do to get a team to rebound. From a bad loss. After that Bengals loss, we kind of were thinking, oh, geez, here we go again. This is going to be, kind of the snowball down the hill, picking up momentum in a bad way. Instead, they rebounded and went the other way. The Raiders are probably the second worst team in the NFL, maybe the third worst team. I mean, they're in that mix. So really, this should be a spot that you don't sleepwalk through this, obviously, and the Jags should have no thought about that. They just lost 2 on the bounce in a big way. So I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling good, I guess, like a 6 out of 10.
I'm about a 4 at this
All
point.
right.
I guess I'm going to go with the Jags in a very close game, which doesn't make a ton of sense with the way they're struggling kicking the football right now.
Yeah.
But I'll go Jags 23-20 on the road. Which
I'll
way you going?
go I'll go give me 24-14. I think the
Okay.
Jags defense shows back up. I think Geno Smith probably does them a favor or two.
Yeah.
And the Jags offense does enough. I'm thinking it's probably like 10-7 at half. It's pretty close. And then the Jaguars offense, maybe ETN busts a big one in the third quarter. They start to create some distance and get the job done.
Tell you where you can get the job done. If you're in the market for something great to eat, is Party Girl Avondale, where I am stationed right now. A lot of good stuff going on here for Florida Georgia weekend coming up here in Duval. You got all the different dips. You've got the chicken salad. You got the ready-made meals. You got the sweet treats. It's all right here at Party Girl Avondale, 4205 St. John's Avenue. And today, a different take on chicken salad even. They got the curry chicken salad.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I would mess that
curry.
up.
Yeah, a little cranberry in there, some purple onion, some curry seasoning.
Yeah.
It is it's a lot of fun, Ev. I think you dig
and that's probably the only way you're going to get me to eat chicken salad with fruit in it.
Me too. Yeah.
I, as someone who loves curry, loves Indian food, that just sounds right up my alley. So,
All right. Well, Ev, anything else you want to add before we get out of here live on a Tuesday afternoon?
not a whole lot. Just excited for the Jaguars to be back on the field this Sunday.
Yeah, Mac Jones didn't do us any favors yesterday, did he? In Houston.
Nope.
And the Colts look really good.
The
I mean,
Colts
it was
look
the
like
Titans,
probably the best team in the AFC right now.
They
Like,
really do.
I mean,
They'd be the number 1 seed right now, right?
they would be, and Jonathan Taylor is probably the NFL MVP front runner in my eyes. Like, I don't really see who else at the moment is kind of in the mix. So
absolutely
scary stuff.
Ev, have a great rest of your week, and we will do it again next week following the Jacksonville Jaguars trip out to Vegas. Will the Jags leave Vegas with a W? We'll find out.
God willing.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon. So for Evan Reier, I'm Travis Reier. Thanking you once again for joining us live right here on Reier on YouTube. Until next time, for No Sleep Teal, so long, everybody.